we start or okay? Wait for the charger. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Welcome to the daily morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are currently on Canto 3 and we're going to start Chapter 3 today. And the title of the chapter is The Lord's Pastimes Out of Vrindavan. Okay. We have. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll do the praise together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Do you want to read the translation? Translation, please. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the very means of conquest. One should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God. Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, the author. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. Classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Irrevocable fact. Are you ready to experience something that's irrevocable? You can never go back. It's irrevocable. Okay. Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, we are continuing with who's been reciting the pastimes of Krishna so far? Uddhava. So he's recited or he's remembered the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, and now he's going to remember Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavan. So there are 23 verses that we have to cover today, and we're going to read text 23. So as we read the pastimes, I'm probably going to skip a few because some have the same theme. So we'll probably pick one, read one pastime, and then skip the rest of the verses that are talking about the same theme. So can somebody start reading? This is text 1.
Sri Uddhava said, "Thereafter Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Sri Baladev, and to please their parents they dragged Kamsa, the leader of public enemies, down from his throne and killed him, pulling him along the ground with great strength."
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to say, and I want you guys to kind of think when you're reading these pastimes, is that one way to look at it is the literal description of what Uddhava is saying, right? The other way to think of those pastimes that Uddhava is speaking is, why is Krishna doing it? Right? When Krishna does something, there is always a reason why Krishna is doing it. We're going to see why he's doing it in detail in the 10th canto. But Prabhupada gives some explanation in all of these purports on why Krishna is doing such an activity. And we'll come to the actual verse that we're going to read to see why they're so amazing. So here, one thing I want you to think is, one is Krishna killed Kamsa, right? But why is Uddhava saying that and pulled him along the ground with great strength after killing? Why will Krishna have to do it? Think about it. There are many such things that we'll read through the pastimes today that have amazing meaning when Krishna is doing something. Okay? All right, text 2. Probably it's mute.
The Lord learned all the Vedas with their different branches simply by hearing them once from his teacher,
Sandipani.
Thank you, Sandipani Muni, whom he rewarded by bringing back his dead son from the region of Yamaloka.
Yeah. So we read in the previous chapter one of the most famous verses that's there in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam even. When Uddhava is thinking about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, he remembers this amazing verse and gets really emotional at this point when he's remembering this. This verse is Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam jigam sayapaya dapya sadvi lebhe gatim da truchitam tatonyam kamva dayalum sharanam vrajema. So Uddhava is thinking, how can I take shelter of somebody else? And he's remembering Krishna's quality. Especially he's remembering Krishna's quality of mercy. Kamva dayalum sharanam vrajema. Who is more merciful than the Lord that I can take shelter of? Especially he is quoting something extraordinary to emphasize Krishna's mercy, the quality of Krishna's mercy. This is Aho Bakiyam. This is the demon, Putana. Baki is the son of Bakasura. And what did Putana do? What did we read in the previous canto? Do you remember? What? Yeah, she basically tried to kill Krishna. And what did Krishna do in return? What will we do in return if somebody tries to kill us? Yeah, we'll try to at least protect ourselves at the least, right? And then we'll actually retaliate. We'll try to kill the other person. But what did Krishna do? Yeah, in the spiritual world, he gave Putana an eternal service of being the maid's, his mother in the spiritual world, where she could feed Krishna every day. So like that, you also think about the different qualities that can bring about when Uddhava is saying this, right? He's saying he rewarded him by bringing back his dead sons from the region of Yamaloka. And Prabhupada says, to give an example so that you can keep going when we're reading the other verses, is Krishna is not an ingrate, he says in the purport. Ingrate means what? Yeah, someone who's ungrateful. You do something for the other person, but he doesn't really think about it. But Krishna, Prabhupada says, remembers every single thing that we do for him. You know? And he gives this example in Sandipani Muni, because of course Krishna is all-knowing, but Sandipani Muni acted as his spiritual master, and therefore, to return the gratitude, show him gratitude, he brought his dead sons from from Yamaloka. So, like that, in every verse, every pastime, Krishna has some reason to do it, and then some amazing quality of Krishna shines through these pastimes that Uddhava is describing. So, when we are reading, we can try to meditate on it. Right? We are just a month away from Janmashtami, and this is a very nice build-up to it. Okay, text 3.
Attracted by the beauty and fortune of Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, many great princes and kings assembled to marry her. But Lord Krishna, stepping over the other hopeful candidates, carried her away as his own share, as Garuda carried away nectar.
Okay, text 4.
By subduing 7 bulls whose noses were not pierced, the Lord achieved the hand of the princess Nagnijiti in the open competition to select her bridegroom. Although the Lord was victorious, his competitors was the hand of the princess, and thus there was a fight well equipped with weapons, and the Lord killed or wounded all of them, but he himself was not hurt.
Just to please his dear wife, the Lord brought back the Parijata tree from heaven, just as an ordinary husband would do. But Indra, the king of heaven, induced by his wives, henpecked as he was, ran after the Lord with full force to fight him.
Indra.
Narkasura, the son of Daratitri, the earth, tried to grasp the whole sky, and for this he was killed by the Lord in the fight. His mother then prayed to the Lord. This led to the return of the kingdom to a son of Narkasura, and thus the Lord entered the house of the demon.
Let's go to text 8.
All those princesses were lodged in different apartments, and the Lord timorously assumed different bodily expansions exactly matching each and every princesses. He accepted their hands in perfect rituals by his internal potency.
Yeah, we know this, right? In Dwarka, Krishna had how many princes? How many wives? Yeah, and 16,100 of those queens he married from here. This was the princesses that were kidnapped by Narakasura. Okay, and what did he do next? Text 9.
Text 9. Just to expand himself according to his transcendental features, the Lord begot in each and every one of them 10 offsprings with exactly his own qualities.
Yeah. Actually, we'll see Narada experiencing this in the 10th canto. So if you're interested about this pastime, you can read the Krishna book. These pastimes are amazingly described there. Yes, please continue.
Kalayavan, the king of Magadha and Salva, attacked the city of Mathura. But when the city was encircled by their soldiers, the Lord refrained from killing them personally, just to show the power of his own men.
Yeah, so can you think about any of the qualities that we can see from this verse from Krishna? Compassion, renunciation. What is Uddhava specifically describing? What quality of Krishna is he specifically describing here when he is describing the pastime? Yes, the last line, right? Just to show the power of his own men. This is Krishna. You know, he lets Arjuna take every credit for the war of Kurukshetra. In Ramayana, who is the hero? Yeah, there is no page in Ramayana where you can see after the entrance of Hanuman that Hanuman is not described. Like that you can see in every single aspect of Krishna's pastimes, it's not just about him. He tries to glorify his devotees more than he himself wants to be glorified. Okay, text 11.
Of kings like Shambhara, Vivira, Bana, Mura, Balvala, and many other demons such as Dantavakra, some he killed himself. and some he caused to be killed by others, Sri Baladev, etc.
Then, O Vidura, the Lord caused all the kings, both the enemies and those on the side of your fighting nephews, to be killed in the battle of Kurukshetra. All those kings were so great and strong that the earth seemed to shake as they traversed the warfield.
Did we? Okay, yeah, text 13.
Duryodhana was bereft of his fortune and duration of life because of the intricacy of ill advice given by Karna, Dusana, Dushashana,
Yeah.
and Sarbala. When he lay on the ground with his followers, his thighs broken, although he was powerful, the Lord was not happy to see the scene.
Yeah. This is the amazing thing about Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can see the same characters that we see in Mahabharata. Like we've seen, what other characters have we seen in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that we see in Mahabharata? You've seen Yudhishthir. Who else have we seen? We have seen Bhishma Dev. We have seen Arjuna. We've seen Mother Kunti, right? We have seen Ashwatthama. But the Bhagavatam completely gives a different light on all these characters. It gives a complete different perspective of how these characters act and feel. And you see this, this is Uddhava remembering Krishna, right? All of this is going to talk about Krishna. But if you look at even the Bhagavad Gita or even the Mahabharata, you might think that Krishna was pretty hard, you know? Like he was asking Arjuna to fight, he was asking Arjuna to kill everybody. You could think of Krishna's heart being pretty hard. But what does Uddhava remember about Krishna here in this pastime that we just read? Yeah, Krishna was not really happy about it. You know, he had to do it as a matter of duty. But in his heart, he was not really happy about it. Do you know why? He's compassionate. Yeah, that's a quality that Krishna has. Yes. Okay, Duryodhana was not going somewhere nice after he died. What else could be the reason? Actually, Prabhupada says in the purport that we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. Krishna is actually our father. You know, any father would never like his sons and daughters to suffer, isn't it? So Krishna really didn't like what Duryodhana was doing, but what could he do? He had to suffer the consequences of his own actions. But given up to Krishna, he would, even if Duryodhana had done a little bit. This is what is the theme of this entire section that we're reading, is that these pastimes of Krishna are actually very difficult to understand. You know, Duryodhana was actually witness to practically the most incredible pastimes of Krishna. He could see the prowess of Krishna, how incredible Krishna was. And yet, Duryodhana was one of the people that Krishna actually showed his universal form to. Right? Before even the battle of Kurukshetra, Duryodhana actually saw Krishna's universal form. And yet, even then, he couldn't recognize Krishna as a supreme personality. This is actually a very difficult thing to actually understand Krishna. You know, please continue. We'll see that in text 23 more. Actually, we'll skip the next few verses, which basically talk about the battle of Kurukshetra. Can we go to text 15, please?
When they quarrel among themselves, influenced by intoxicant, with their eyes red like copper because of drinking madhu, then only will they disappear. Otherwise, it will not be possible. On my disappearance, this incident will take place.
Okay, what incident is Krishna talking about? Yeah, the Yadus. We've read about the Yadus, right? So, okay. Let's continue.
Lord Shri Krishna, thus thinking to himself, established Maharaj Yudhisthira in the position of supreme control of the world in order to show the ideal of administration on the path of piety.
Yeah, we've read about the rest of the verses in Canto 1, so we're going to skip to 19.
Simultaneously, the personality of Godhead enjoyed life in the city of Dwarka, strictly in conformity with the very customs of society. He was situated in detachment and knowledge, as enunciated by the Shankya system of philosophy.
Yeah, even if you don't read all the other purports, I would highly recommend reading this one. It gives a lot of context to what we're going to discuss. Okay, text 20.
He was there in his transcendental body, the residence of the goddess of fortune, with his unusual, gentle, and sweet smiling face. His nectarian
Usual
words.
gentle, no?
Huh?
With his usual.
Oh, his usual, gentle, and sweetly smiling face. His nectarian words and his flawless character.
The Lord, can you scroll down a little bit, please? Thank you. The Lord enjoyed his pastimes, both in this world and in other worlds, higher planets, specifically in the association of the Yadu dynasty. At leisure hours offered by night, he enjoyed friendships of conjugal love with women.
Okay. Text 22.
The Lord was thus engaged in household life for many, many years, but at last his detachment from ephemeral sex life was fully manifested.
What is ephemeral? Temporary, transitory. Yeah. Okay, text 23. This is our main verse for focus for today. Should we read the Sanskrit? And then please repeat. Daivadhineshu kameshu Daivadhina swayam puman Ko vishrambheta yogena Yogeshwaram anuvrata Daivadhineshu kameshu Daivadhina swayam puman Ko vishrambheta yogena Yogeshwaram anuvrata. Yeah, somebody else wants to chant? Daivadineshu kameshu Daivadhina swayam puman Ko vishrambeta yogena Yogeshwaram anuvrata Daivadhineshu kameshu Daivadhina swayam puman Ko vishrambeta yogena Yogeshwaram anuvrata. Prabhuji, somebody want to chant? Daivadhineshu kameshu Daivadhina swayam puman Ko vishrambeta yogena Yogeshwaram anuvrata. Okay, translation. So, somebody wanted to chant? No, go ahead, chant. Daivadhineshu kameshu Daivadhina swayam puman Ko vishrambeta yogena Yogeshwaram anuvrataha. Okay, translation.
Every living entity is controlled by a supernatural force, and thus his sense enjoyment is also under the control of that supernatural force. No one, therefore, can put his faith in Lord Krishna's transcendental sense activities, but one who has become a devotee of the Lord by rendering devotional service.
Yeah, purport.
As stated in Bhagavad Gita, no one can understand the transcendental birth and activities of the Lord. The same fact is herein corroborated. No one but one who is enlightened by the devotional service of the Lord can understand the difference between the Lord's activities and those of others, who are controlled by the supernatural force. The sense enjoyment of all animals, men, and demigods within the purview of the material universe is controlled by the supernatural force called the Prakriti, or Daivi Maya. No one is independent in obtaining sense enjoyment, and everyone in this material world is after sense enjoyment. Persons who are themselves under the control of supernatural power cannot believe that Lord Krishna is not under any control beyond himself in the matter of sense enjoyment. They cannot understand that his senses are transcendental. In the Brahma Samhita, the Lord's senses are described as omnipotent. With any sense, he can perform the activities of the other senses. One who has limited senses cannot believe that the Lord can eat by his transcendental power of hearing and can perform the act of sex life simply by seeing. The controlled living entity cannot even dream of such sense activities in his conditional life. But simply by the activities of Bhakti Yoga, he can understand that the Lord and his activities are always transcendental. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:55, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tat vataha. One cannot know even a fraction of the activities of the Lord if he is not a pure devotee of the Lord.
Yeah. So this is the key. What does Prabhupada say is the key to understanding Krishna's pastimes? Yeah, devotional service. Yeah, when you're a pure devotee, you can understand everything about Krishna's pastimes. But even to venture into this activity of understanding Krishna's pastimes, we have to perform devotional service. Because this is why Prabhupada says, before you go to the 10th canto, you have to go through the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Krishna's pastimes in the 10th canto, if we read, are actually truly extraordinary. Although you might have seen extraordinary pastimes of Krishna in the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna's pastimes in the 10th canto are remarkably extraordinary than the other pastimes that we might have seen. So it's very easy for people to confuse or pretend to know Krishna. Because many people will say, oh, Krishna danced with all the young girls, so I can also do it. But Prabhupada would say, okay, Krishna also lifted the Govardhan with his pinky finger, can you do it? So like that, Krishna's activities and pastimes are very, very incredible. And what is the result of understanding Krishna's pastimes? Why do we have to understand Krishna's pastimes? Yes? Yeah. Can you say the whole verse? Do you know? Janma, karma, veti tattvataha, naiti mameti so Arjuna. Krishna says, right? This is the point. Janma, karma, chame divyam. Krishna says in the Gita, that is, Janma means appearance, and his karma means activities are divyam. Divya means transcendental in nature. They don't conform to our materialistic point of view. This is what Prabhupada's main point of focus in the purport is that all of us are controlled by our senses, and therefore we think Krishna should also be controlled by his own senses. But as we read in the previous few verses, that Krishna is completely detached from his senses, although on the outside he might look, his activities might look like the activities that all of us are performing. And why does Krishna do so? Do you know? Do you know what Krishna says in the Gita on why he performs activities like all of us do? I'm going to see if somebody else... yes, bro? Yeah, Krishna says, Yadyat acharati shreshtas tat evetaro jana. That all men in the world look up to really famous men to do what they have to do, right? And they follow really famous men. Therefore, Krishna sets the example. Through that's the verse, text 19 that we read, is that all the activities of Krishna... was it 19? Yeah. He says, simultaneously, the personality of Godhead enjoyed life in the city of Dwaraka strictly in conformity with the Vedic customs of the society. He was situated in detachment and knowledge as enunciated by Sankhya system of philosophy. So Krishna is teaching us by example on how to behave and how we can lead our lives in this world that we live in. Because ultimately, the buck stops with Krishna. You know, in the world, Krishna is the is the ultimate. So if Krishna says, what does Krishna say if he doesn't behave properly? Yes, Drishyajimna Prabhu. Yeah, everything would be put to ruination, Krishna says, if Krishna doesn't behave properly. So therefore, there is a chapter in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam on the daily activities of Krishna. You should probably go and read that chapter in the Krishna book. It's amazing how Krishna follows his daily activities. And yet, Krishna is completely out of the purview of this supernatural power. What is the supernatural power that Prabhupada is talking about in the purport? Yes? No, it's not Yogamaya. What is it is Mahamaya, which is basically the material energy of Krishna, which is a supernatural power, Krishna says, Prabhupada says. Because all of us are bound by the material energy of Krishna, isn't it? It's very, very difficult to get out of this material energy of Krishna. Krishna says, Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam evaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. That it is incredibly difficult for the living entities to get out of this material energy, Krishna says, duratyaya. But there is one way in which you can get out of the material energy of Krishna. Mam evaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. That when you surrender to Krishna, Krishna says this ocean of material energy can be easily crossed. This is the solution. This is what Prabhupada is saying in this purport also, is that it is incredibly difficult for us to understand the activities of Krishna. And we sing this every single day in the morning, what Prabhupada is describing in the Brahma Samhita. Do you know the verse that Prabhupada is quoting in the Brahma Samhita? In this purport? What is, before even we go to the verse, what is Prabhupada saying in the purport about the activities of Krishna? Yeah, each sense can do the activity of all the other senses. Krishna can eat with his ears, he's saying, right? So what is the verse that we sing in the every day in the morning? Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. That each and every sense of Krishna can perform the activity of every other sense of Krishna. This is how the bhoga becomes prasad, right? Do you see Kalachanji eat with his mouth like we honor prasad? No, but what is happening? He's just glancing at the food, and that's as good as Krishna honoring the bhoga and giving us the prasad, you know. And this is what Krishna says in the Gita also. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate characharam. That through just my looking at the material energy, this is what Prabhupada is saying in the purport also, is that Krishna can impregnate using his eyes. This is what Krishna does. Just by his glance, the material nature is populated with all the living entities, all of us in this material world. And throughout the pastimes of Krishna that we have read, we've seen so many of these people who have completely not been able to understand Krishna's pastimes. Right? We've seen, who all have we seen? Duryodhana, we specifically saw that he had no idea who Krishna was. Although Krishna was performing all these incredible feats. Prabhupada also mentions all these kings and these demons that Krishna killed who had no idea who Krishna was. So for us to understand who Krishna is, what is Krishna's requirement? What does Krishna say? In the purport, Prabhupada is quoting this verse from the Gita. What is the verse that Prabhupada is quoting? Yes? Bhaktya mam tattvataha. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. You can know me only through bhakti, right? When you want to know somebody, what is the best way to know somebody? What are the different ways in which we can know somebody? You know, say you want to know Bill Gates. How would you know about him? What are the different ways in which you can know about him? Yeah. You could talk to him. How else can you know about him? Yes. Ask other people about him. Other people who know Bill Gates about him. How else can you know about him? Yeah, you can become his friend. Or you can Google him. Isn't it? You go to you open a browser and type Bill Gates. And then you're going to get all the information about him. It may not be accurate, or it's very superficial also, right? It's not the most intimate details that Bill Gates might want to say that would be available on the web, you know. But whereas when you get to know him and when you're friends with him, Do you even have to ask Bill Gates for anything? Between friends, you just share things between ourselves, right? Without even others asking, we share our most intimate details among friends. So this is it. If we want to know Janma Karma Chame Divyam, the activities of Krishna, the only way to know it properly is through Bhaktyamam Abhijanati, only through devotional service. Or else it's a very, what do you say, not a good way to know about somebody. It's a very intrusive way to just Google about the other person or ask somebody about, you know, hey, can you tell me about this person? Or I want to just, without that person wanting me to know about the other person, I just will try to know all the details of such a person. That's basically what Google is, right? The person has no idea what we're looking at. So it's a very intrusive way of looking at things. Therefore, through devotional service, we can actually get to know Krishna. And this is what was happening to the residents of Vrindavan. They could see Krishna like the way that none of them saw in the previous cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Mother Yashoda, Krishna, there is a pastime of Krishna. I don't know if we read it in the previous chapter, of Krishna eating dirt. Did we see? Did we see this? Did Uddhava? I don't think so. I don't think Uddhava describes this. So we can see that in one of the chapters of the 10th canto, Krishna actually eats dirt. And his mother is saying, Krishna, you should not eat dirt. And Krishna is saying, no, I never ate dirt. And then you can actually see it for yourself. And Krishna opens his mouth. And then Mother Yashoda, what does she see in Krishna's mouth? Yeah, she sees the entire universe. I don't know if you have a painting of it. She sees the entire universe. She sees the entire world in Krishna's mouth. And this is not the first time that Krishna is showing Mother Yashoda his universal form. When he was, I think, a year or two old, when she opened Krishna's mouth to see if he was teething. And then that time, when she opened Krishna's mouth, Mother Yashoda could actually see the entire universe. But Mother Yashoda's reaction to this is that, oh, this is still my child Krishna. He's not the great Lord from whom everything emanates. And therefore, Shukadeva Goswami actually has a question to, Parikshit Maharaj actually has a question to Shukadeva Goswami. What kind of love is this that Mother Yashoda is exhibiting? You know, previously we have seen amazing devotees of the Lord in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Can you name a few amazing devotees of the Lord that you might know? Mother, we see Ambarish Maharaj. Who else? From the first canto, you can say so many devotees of the Lord. You see Narada Muni, you see Arjuna, you see Yudhishthira, you see Bhishma Dev. They all were performing devotional service to Krishna. Therefore, they knew Krishna in an intimate way, right? But Shukadeva Goswami is talking about a love that Parikshit Maharaj is completely confused about. What kind of love is this that Krishna is showing the universal form and still Mother Yashoda doesn't care about it? What happens when Krishna shows the universal form to Arjuna? Do you know? Yeah, he freaks out. He's terrified when he sees Krishna's universal form, because it's not a very good sight to see. You know, the 11th chapter of the Gita actually describes the gory nature of Krishna's universal form. You know, and yet when Mother Yashoda actually sees this universal form, she just doesn't care about it. She says, oh, this is still my young child Krishna. What kind of love is this? This is the love that you get in the residents of Vrindavan that is completely devoid of any awe and reverence, because it is completely filled with love. This is the kind of bhakti that we have access to. It is not any kind of devotional service that all of us have access to, but it is this most ultimate form of devotional service that all of us have access to. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Anarpita charim chirat karunaya vatirna kalau samarpayitum unnato jvalasva bhakti shriyam. He says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give one kind of love that has never been given before to anybody. This is this kind of love that the residents of Vrindavan had for Krishna. That is what we get when we perform devotional service. Not just love. Right? We say the ultimate aim of performing devotional service is what? What is the goal of performing devotional service? More devotional service. But specifically what? Love of God. Krishna Prema. Right? We say this every day in the morning. We chant without offenses so that we can get the ultimate goal of devotional service, which is Krishna Prema. And this Krishna prema is not any ordinary Krishna prema. The bhakti that we are performing is going to give us the prema that the residents of Vrindavan had, where they could actually see Krishna for who he was, this supreme Lord from whom all the universes emanate, the supreme Lord who can kill all the demons so easily, the supreme Lord who can lift mountains with his left pinky finger. And yet they could understand Krishna in such an intimate way. This love that they had for Krishna was so devoid of any awe and reverence. It was so sweet. This is the kind of devotional service that that we are going to get through the performance of our devotional service by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We saw in this purport specifically how difficult it is. Who is, or one of the pastimes that Uddhava described, that one of the personalities get really confused about Krishna. Who did Uddhava describe? Do you remember? He is a devotee of the Lord, but he still is very confused. He didn't describe Brahma, but it's a good guess. Who does he say? Do you remember? There's one other example other than Brahma. Who is it? Yeah, Indra, right? The confusion that Indra has was Krishna was a small boy. How can this person be the supreme personality of Godhead? And he poured 7 days of torrential rain on Vrindavan. But here the specific pastime he's speaking is after Krishna lifted Govardhan. And he went to Dwarka, and then he goes to the abode of Indra to get the Parijata tree. And still, even there, Indra cannot understand. Like, he's gone through this once in his life, and Krishna has really chastised him. It's like, okay, you go ahead, go and do your own work again. Krishna is like excusing him. And still, Indra cannot understand Krishna properly. So that is how difficult it is to understand Krishna's activities and pastimes. And yet, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, we have complete access to those pastimes and to look at Krishna's pastimes in the right way. Janma karma chave divyam evam vyo veti tattvataha. Tattvataha means in truth. Yeah, I'm going to come to you. In truth, meaning these are not just any pastimes. This is why I come back to what I said in the beginning of when we started, that every single activity of Krishna has a reason for why he's performing. And it shines through a quality of Krishna that we cannot see from the surface. So if you can go back to these 2 chapters and then look at each of these pastimes from that perspective, we're going to gain a lot from Krishna's pastimes. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
If we are all parts and parcels of God and God is within all of us,
Yeah.
is it possible, and we have all like qualities of God, is it possible that we can access God-like powers?
God-like powers? Yeah, we can. But in minute quantities. That's the idea. So since we are parts and parcels of Krishna, we have many of his qualities. The very reason why we try to like something or we try to do something is because we have those qualities that are coming from Krishna. We do. But since we are very minuscule in nature, that we are tiny parts and parcels, those qualities are manifest in us, but in very infinitesimal quantities. But we do have it. That's the reason why we try to desire to be Krishna. All those qualities are there in us. Any last questions or comments? Yes?
So this is kind of just a little bit confusing for me. I'm not sure how much you'll be able to provide for this, but it's saying one who has limited senses. Obviously, I have limited senses, so
Yes.
I'm unable to understand this. But it's saying that he can do the act of sex life simply by seeing, or he can eat by his hearing.
Yeah.
Could you maybe like describe what that is like, or I don't know.
What that's like?
I don't know, like eats by hearing, like he hears something far away and he like eats it.
Yeah, so this is the point of seeing everything from a materialistic point of view, right? We are very conditioned and accustomed to looking at certain things from one perspective. But when we see that in Krishna, it's very confusing. And it is meant to be that. This is basically our philosophy, that it is achintya. Some of the we just have to agree upon this fact that some of the things that Krishna does are completely not understandable for us. This is achintya beda beda tattva, right? That it's very hard for us to actually, in our limited senses, understand. But we can understand in one way, if Krishna decides, because this has to come from top down. Then we can understand that if Krishna gives us the ability to understand this, then we can understand this. This is how Krishna starts the 7th chapter of the Gita. He says, Maya Shakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjam Madashraya Asamshayam Shamagrama Yata Jnasyasi Tat Shrunu. Krishna says, okay Arjuna, now I'm going to tell you something, after hearing which you'll know everything that you need to know. Everything that you need to know. So if Krishna can let us know, if Krishna can reveal it to us in our hearts, we'll be able to know it. But with our own limited senses, like Srila Prabhupada says, it's very hard for us to perceive how that actually happens. That make sense? Yeah. Yes, Nanda Braja Prabhu.
At the beginning of the class, you asked, why did Balaram and Krishna drag Kamsa?
Yes, you have
in
an
front?
answer?
Yes.
Yes.
Vasudeva and Devaki were very afraid of Kamsa. You can imagine the PTSD that they had from
I
the
know.
abusive way, right? And so Krishna and Balaram dragged Kamsa in front of them to show he is dead. You have nothing more to worry about.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of those movies where the warriors come back and they drop a head.
Yes.
Like the head, here it is.
Yeah.
So this is Krishna
Spartans.
dropping the head of Kamsa.
Yeah.
Just parents, don't worry, he's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, so many things we can think about this, right? One is he's showing the parents who've been suffering so much to say that, hey, Kamsa has died. The other way you can look at it is Krishna's prowess. Kamsa was not a very, puny fellow. He was a really strong guy, you know. For somebody to drag him at the age of 12, Krishna left Vrindavan at the age of 12. It shows his prowess. Like that's just by this one act, you can think of so many qualities of Krishna. He's being so compassionate to his parents, isn't it? That they're so worried. He's thinking about them. Not just killing Kamsa, that's the most easy part for him, right? But he's thinking about, oh, what can I do so that it pacifies my parents? So there's so many different things in just that one act of Krishna. Like that, we can get so deep into this Leela Smarana, right? This is essentially why we're doing this bhakti. Is that Shravanam, we hear about Krishna's pastimes. Kirtanam, we speak about Krishna's pastimes. Through this, we do Vishnu Smaranam. We start contemplating on Krishna's pastimes. This is exactly why we read Srimad Bhagavatam, you know. And then it is irrevocably established in your hearts. Irrevocably. So I think we should stop. Anything else? Or?
I have to mention this. We had a class yesterday in Bhagavad Gita, and it's just really cool. We spoke about Mother Yashoda looking into Krishna's mouth. We talked about Zarona, seeing, as a matter of fact, this was brought up by Dina, that he saw all the pastimes and saw all these wonders, but still he could not understand Krishna.
Yeah.
He even saw the universal. Anyways, it just, when you were speaking, it was just blowing my mind that we were like how, you know, how Krishna arranges in a way that these pastimes are understand. Anyways,
yeah. No, this is amazing. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhye vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.